Hey guys, welcome back. We are looking for the rapture, or is the rapture on or before December the 7th, 2021? There is a convergence of several rapture timelines that has never occurred in human history, making the first week of December 2021 the highest watch that we have ever seen. Let's kind of review. In Matthew 24, Jesus said, "This generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled." When Israel was once again set up as a nation, they were given a maximum of 80 years. This is known as the fig tree generation, before one shall be taken and the other left, which is the rapture and the starting of the tribulation. Israel was founded May 14th, 1948. And the definition of a tribulation, the definition of a generation is found in Psalm 90:10. The days of our years are 80 years and 10, and if by reason of strength they be 80 years, which is 80, yet their strength, labor, and sorrow, for it is soon cut off and we fly away. A biblical generation is 70 years to not greater than 80 years. In other words, everything must happen: the rapture, Armageddon, Jesus' return to set up his kingdom, before Israel reaches 80 years on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. Scholars agree that Jesus will return on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. The date of his return is projected of Yom Kippur on October the 29th, 2028. And the way we came about it is described below. Details below. This is Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. This is the 10th day of the 7th month on God's calendar. And bear with me. I'm using an iPad. I can make it bigger, but it's not like using a mouse. You just have to kind of read along with me. In addition, because 2028 is a Jubilee year, again, see below, we discuss that. This date is also the Feast of Trumpets and the true fulfillment of that feast by Jesus Christ. This is the last Yom Kippur before Israel would turn 81 years old, satisfying the fig tree prophecy, again found in Matthew 24 and Psalm 90:10. The fulfillment of all the fall feasts, as well as the fulfillment of the Jubilee year in Leviticus. The Lord uses exact day counts to determine prophecy timeline periods. And a good example of this is Grant Jeffrey's video. There's a link to the video, and this video shows the exact prophesied date that Israel once again became a nation. If we calculate the years, what we come up with is a drop-dead rapture time frame of the following. A key verification that 2021 is the year of the rapture and 2028 is a Jubilee year is from the following. Jesus died and rose from the grave in AD 28. This was a Jubilee year. And a good study on this is found on the link that's shown. And all these links, by the way, are in the pinned comment on the video page. And I'll show you at the end how to get to this page. If you take AD 28, the year that Jesus died, it was a Jubilee year, plus 2,000 years. This is 40 Jubilees. that comes to 2028, a Jubilee year. Then you take 2028 and minus the 7-year tribulation, you come to the year 2021. So May 14, 1948 plus 80 years equals 80th Day of Atonement and Feast of Trumpets. And because it's a Jubilee year, it's the same day. And that comes to October the 29th, 2028. If you take October the 29th, 2028, subtract 7-year tribulation, which consists of 7 biblical years of 360-day period, you come to 2025. It's 2,520 biblical days. You come to December the 5th, 2021. And what is interesting, this was this date, December the 5th. What is interesting, the only time the rapture phrase is used is found in Revelation 12:5. And somebody posted a comment. Look at this. I mean, in Revelation 12:5, it says the child, which is the church or the bride, was caught up. And the word caught up is harpazo in the Greek, which they derive rapture from, rapture to heaven. And they were saying it's interesting. It's found in the verse Revelation 12:5. If Revelation 12 stands for December and 5, the 5th month, they were saying, is this a code that the rapture will occur on December the 5th? And you look at it, December the 5th, that's extremely high watch date, all around that. But then again, taking it further, if you take December the 5th, 2021 plus 3.5 years, which is 1,260 days, you come to the middle of the tribulation, which is May the 18th, 2025. At this time, scholars agree with this is actually the end of second Passover week, and this is when the Antichrist sits in the new temple in Jerusalem and proclaims himself to be God. Another time marker is found in Job 2:31, and it says that the sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord. So we look on the calendar that we're looking at, the period that we're looking at, there is a blood moon on November the 19th, and it will be the longest in around 6,000 years, the length of the blood moon. Plus, on December the 4th, there is a total solar eclipse. And this kind of fits in, that the moon will turn to blood and the sun will be darkened before the great and terrible day of the Lord. This is on the 4th, December the 4th, and our target date is December the 5th, after this happens. Another high watch date that many are looking at is December the 3rd. This is the 27th day of the true 8th month, and this is the day that Noah left the ark. And there's a video link that gives a good description as to why this could be the day. And another timeline that we want to introduce to you is that, and this was sent in as a comment, that on December the 6th, 2017, President Trump formally recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and stated that the American embassy would be moved to Tel Aviv, from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. And they were saying it's kind of interesting that this sets up a 4-year countdown. That according to Luke 13, chapter 13, and they're talking about a parable of a fig tree, and the fig tree was planted, and it hadn't borne any fruit on the tree after 3 years, and the owner of the fig tree plantation apparently came by and said, "Look, let's just cut it down." And the tender of the vineyard said, "No, Lord, let's give it another year, and then if it doesn't bear any fruit, then cut it down." And this kind of lends to the fact that the Lord always gives a 4-year notice before he destroys the nation. And the end of our 4-year notice, in other words, if you add 3 years to this date when President Trump recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, you add 3 years, that is just right after the election. And then our deadline, since we hadn't really borne any fruit, our deadline is this coming December the 6th, 2021. That's another timeline. It could very well be that this is the date that United States is destroyed. Another major timeline that this was sent in again by a comment, that do you realize that December the 7th marks the 80th anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor by Japan? And this goes back to above. The Lord uses 80 years as a maximum time limit for a nation, and the length of a generation. And will the United States be destroyed by December the 7th? At the end of our time is run out by December the 7th, marking the time of our place in the sun. In addition, in Revelation 18, the Bible states that the USA, in other words, Babylon, will be destroyed at a time when hundreds of merchant container ships are parked offshore of the United States. There has never been a nation or a time in history when hundreds of merchant ships are stuck offshore waiting to unload their cargo. Some claim that Babylon is Rome. However, you never see cargo ships offshore from Rome. And in Revelation 18, this describes the destruction of Babylon. And I won't read everything, all this. I'll just point out the high points. But it describes that a situation where every shipmaster and all the company and ships and sailors and as many as trade by sea stood afar off, and they cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, "What city is like unto this great city or nation?" And they cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, and alas, alas, that great city wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour she is made desolate. So in other words, it will occur at a time, again, that has never occurred in history, where there's now hundreds of ships off the coast of the United States waiting to unload. And what a time. This is fulfillment of Revelation 18, that Babylon is destroyed, the nation of Babylon is destroyed when all these witnesses are watching the burning of the nation. And let's go on here. The United States, Babylon is attacked by a nation from the north. And Jeremiah, it kind of pinpoints it, that it is saying that for out of the north there cometh a nation against her, where shall make her land desolate, and none shall dwell therein. I hate reading King James English. And if you go to Google Earth, Russia, if you draw a line directly north from the United States, you run right into Russia. And let's go on. Russia, Iran, Turkey, and China, they're all developing a mutual military defense alliance. And Israel destroys Damascus in Isaiah 17:1. And could this be the trigger that starts the war in Ezekiel 38 and 39 and the destruction of the United States, Babylon? In other words, could there be simultaneous things happening? In other words, Israel starts attacking Damascus, probably at the same time attacking Iran, and Russia comes to the defense to Iran, and at the same time you have China initiating attack, taking over Taiwan, and everything is it's very interesting. Everything is kind of heating up to a boil here. And here's Revelation 17. Damascus is taken away from being a city, and in one day it's turned to a runless heap. And it's the war that's described in Ezekiel 38 and 39 is kind of interesting. And it talks at a time when Gog, which is Russia, invades Israel. And the consequences, along with the invasion, is Turkey, Iran, Ethiopia, Libya, a number of nations surrounding Israel come against her. And again, it says in the latter days, this will happen in the latter days. So it's a future event that it will happen. And it's kind of interesting, the result. It talks of, and when they see this happening, the nations of the world saying, okay, Russia, what's the deal here? And it's described as the merchants of Tarshish with all the young lions. And scholars agree that merchants of Tarshish, that's where the Phoenicians originated out of England, and the young lions thereof, scholars consider it to be the United States. And they're saying, okay, Russia, we know what you're doing. You want Israel's oil. They have a vast oil reserve in Israel, and Russia is coming after the oil. And as a result, again, it's stating it will be in the latter days. But as a result, it describes fire and brimstone, which is basically nuclear weapons. And there's another verse that really hits home that it's nuclear weapons will rain down on her. And you can kind of read this yourself going to the document. But this is something interesting in Ezekiel 39, is that these weapons that they have, and Israel has a weapon that will destroy flesh, but it will save buildings and all this. It's a high radiation blast, and they will burn their weapons for 7 years. And I read that the shielding that Russia uses on their tanks can be burned. And 7 years that they're burning the weapons, that's exactly this war, when it occurs, is at the beginning of the tribulation period. So again, the tribulation period is 2000, is kind of a testament that, hey, the beginning of the tribulation period is going to be start of a war. And again, you go back the 7 years, and it comes back that this war has to start, if we have calculations right, has to start by no later than December the 6th, 2021. Let's go on. And this is kind of interesting. The Advent is describing that they send men out looking for remains of people that had died. And again, you know, if Israel uses their weapon that they have that releases just a high concentration of radiation, it would kill the people, but it would be very unclean. And it says that it will pass, and they set up a sign. In other words, if they see a dead man's bones, and they flag it with a sign, and then you have barriers that come by and bury it. Basically what they're, and thus shall they cleanse the land. Basically what's being described here is a cleansing of the land due to high nuclear contamination with radioactivity of the bodies that were killed in the war. But anyway, you can read all this. So there you have it. This is a calendar, and let me kind of get to kind of a summary. Let's go. If you go to this link, it takes you to where we are in the calendar, and let's go to that link here. Okay, this is showing the 9th month, which is really the true 8th month. If you read on down through the page, we go through the rationale of that. And here we go. There's the blood moon on the 19th, okay, which is past. And here we have the 27th day, which is December the 3rd. This is a day that we alluded to, that the day that Noah left the ark. on that day, the 27th day of the 8th month. And the way Israel counts their days, the third begins at sundown on the December the 2nd. So these 2 days, again, the first week of December, it really starts in with the high signs. Then you have a total solar eclipse on December the 4th. And then our main mark day, again, the mark day that comes back from Yom Kippur of 2028, you have the December the 5th, and that's also a code. If you look up, like we discussed, the code in Revelation chapter 12, verse 5, only time it talks about the rapture, and that's coded out to December the 5th, a high watch day. Now let's go on to keep it going, and we come to Monday, December the 6th. Again, that is the 4-day limit of when Trump recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. And then the next day, December the 7th, you have our time is up with the 80th anniversary of the bombing of Pearl Harbor. And that set a 80-year limit to the nation. So looks like the United States is headed for destruction. Okay, we're back at the document. This is kind of interesting. This lady, back in 2007, she was severely burned, and she was transported. She was in a coma for 18 days, and while she was in the coma, the Lord showed her a map of what the United States will look like when His judgment hits. And this is kind of interesting, and this is backed up by a number of people that have dreams and visions. And you will notice here that she says that the coastal areas are no longer part of the landmass, and when it's red, places that had been burned up, and the S, large waves. And this is kind of interesting. Let me zoom in on the map here. You notice the California has slipped into the ocean, a lot of waves. You look at parts of Texas, the Gulf, where the blue is, a lot of waves along on the East Coast. And this could be tsunami produced by earthquakes. Right now in the Canary Islands, La Palma, I believe the name of the volcano, people are saying that when that goes by or goes through, it would cause a tsunami. But another factor is that Russia has a nuclear torpedo. They call it the tsunami torpedo. And what it is, it's a torpedo that can be set on a timer that underwater, that it explodes a nuclear bomb designed to set up a tsunami thousands of feet high to wreck the coast of a country. And that could very well be with Russia implementing using their tsunami torpedo. You can Google it or look it up, do a search, and it will tell you all about it. So what I want to do, or what I want to show you, is that here are some good links of why the United States is Mystery Babylon. Watch all 3 points. Some videos on Russia's soon attack of the United States, which I'm going to play some of that. And this is something that we'll come back to. But first, now this document continues all the way down. There's about 100 pages of this document that goes through different aspects of looking for the rapture, why the calendars are off. But anyway, I'm going to show you how you can get to this document, and then I'm going to close it out with going over the information about Russia's activity. It's very interesting that they're gearing up for attack. You get to this document, okay, you get to the Google document by looking at the first pinned comment, and you click on the pinned comment, and basically all the material that we went over is in this comment here. But the problem with the comment, you can't send it to somebody else, the information to somebody else, and you can't make a copy of it. So we have a link to the Google document at the bottom of the pinned comment, which is all the way down at the bottom, which is right here. It's hard to read information off a comment. You can't make a copy of it. So this information, much more, is found in the Google document. You click on the link and it takes you to the Google document. Okay. Another thing too is that this is very good. What you must do to be saved. Click on that. We have set up a